Tom Begley's going to speak next. When I asked the team for, because I did not work with either Al or Tom actually, when I asked for a little background on Tom, it wasn't specific to Tom, it was something about the annex.
So I stood for a fort.
And that was wrong. I think that, they quarantined that by the time I had gotten there. It sounded like a fun place to work. Anyway, Tom Begley is going to speak next. So, Tom. Still work from there?
Logistics. The logistics.
All right.
Side. Yeah.
Are you part of a tag team here or something?
Oh, there we go.
Yes, we're flipping off. It's when somebody's hand gets tired.
All right.
Send it over. I get the next speaker, then I pass it over.
Well, Paul Smith. I never met Paul until just this evening. And when I heard the name Paul Smith, there was only one Paul Smith I know, being an old fart. This Paul Smith used to work in FGA, finished accounting, and then he went up through the financial, became a vice president, I think, executive vice president.
That's the one that gets all his
Any relationship to you, Paul?
No, the very first paycheck I got from Kodak, before my direct deposit went in, was paid to the order of me, signed by Paul Smith.
You know who he is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Al Reinhardt and I go back many years. In the 60s, we both lived on the same road in Spencerport, and we were in a carpool for quite a few years. Bob Sundell was in paper planning. There was a gal by the name of Marilyn Canute. I don't know that many of you would remember. She worked in John Scanlon's group. Ed Gauss, who was a systems guy, and Ken Frisch was another one over the years. So anyways, we went our different ways, and now both Al and we're back in now we're in Webster, so we're neighbors again. And Al and I get together for lunch a couple of times a year, and we'll be doing it the next few weeks.
Always a pleasure, Tom.
Well, we kind of compare notes as to what anyone's doing. So I came into iOS in 1982 and left there in 1962. Left there in 1982. Went to IPO at State Street, and then a few years after that went to government, with the international section of government markets, and retired in 1990. So, okay. So when I came in 62, at that time there was only one private office, Charlie Thrasher.
Oh, man.
All set out in the general area. And our supervisor at the time was Jack Henry. So I was sitting on the aisle, Jack was right in front of me, Bob Marshall was right next to me, and Esther Williams, another and Mary Kavanaugh, or Mary Morris at the time. I don't think she's here, but anyway, those are five of us. So one day, Bob and I thought of a good idea where we'd turn a suggestion. And so when we made certain shipments, if it had a letter of credit and import license, we had to make up two separate forms, and 90% of it would be the same. So we thought, let's put these together and tape up, less time to fill the thing out and have Mary type it and everything. So we sat down, we began writing it up. We had about 80% done, and we got busy with something else. So a few days later, I said, Bob, let's finish that thing. And because we were going to turn it in with both our names on it. So now this is telling you about what Bob Marshall was really like. You may think he's a good guy. This is the dark side of Bob. So I said, Bob, let's do this. He said, I already turned it in. So I said, okay, you put both our names. No, he said, I'll put my name on it. I said, you son of a bitch. So he's going to collect all the money on this. So So, but I knew he really wouldn't. He said, I would share it and all this. So a few weeks later, again, we're sitting in this open area with Jack Henry ahead of us. So the suggestion comes back to Jack, and he turns around, and Bob's sitting next to me, and he says, Marshall, he says, you turn this suggestion in. He says, don't you ever do anything like that again. He says, you got any idea? He says, you tell me about it. Don't use the suggestion system. You know? So I'm laughing inside. You know, that bastard, he got just what he deserved. Then Jack calls the whole group around, and he tells everyone the same thing. You got any suggestion, don't use that system, which is really opposed to everything. The suggestion system was great. So, you know, yeah, we'll do it. So I'm glad that Jack, by the time I turned another suggestion in by myself a few years later, and I got $48,000. It's a good thing Jack Henry had.
I remember that.
But having said that, bad things about Bob, you know, he is a great friend, and we have a golfing club that gets together every Tuesday, and Bob and I have been friends for many years. But beyond that, Bob and Robbie are probably the best people in Monroe County. They've done so many. They've helped so many people that you never know about. They've taken people that were had various problems in their life, and they stayed with Bob and Robbie, and they're just that type of people. So there is something good about that.